just in the first 6 or 7 months of this year, we've probably done maybe 2 or 3 years worth of changes just to be able to evolve and adapt for the speed of change that is happening and will continue to happen in our industry. When somebody goes from amateur to professional, just the rate and the speed and the pace, it actually requires different habits, different disciplines, and really a different mindset. Real estate professionals, welcome back to the RMG Agent Podcast. We are so thrilled that you are here. And as always, if you want lots more of the goodies that we're going to talk about, you can go to rmgagentpodcast.com. You can see all of our episodes. We have a bunch of them out there now, and they're all fantastic. Everybody agrees that they're the very best. And so go ahead and take a look. We're happy to have you along for the ride. There's webinars, there's blogs, there's all kinds of great stuff. And to bring that great information to you, to be able to help you be empowered, encouraged. My partner in crime, Jake Bartlett.
Thank you. I'm here today, and I am jacked for the main reason that we get to talk lots of sports analogies.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about working out.
No, not that. That's more you. So, okay. So first and foremost, go back and watch our last episode or listen to our last episode, which was a really good one. Save Your Mom or Save the World, How to Navigate Competing Priorities.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about the NAR changes.
Yep.
And we're going to frame it in the language of new league and new rules.
Yeah. So we're dealing with a new league and new rules. And when we were preparing for this conversation, really what we were talking about was, it was framed up in this conversation we've had here on the podcast before. And that is one of the things that we're excited about with all the changes in our industry is we believe is changing from amateur to professional. And there's a lot of scary things about that. But for the consumer, there's a lot of amazing things. And for the top professionals, like the people that, watch this podcast or listen to it, there are just some awesome things that are going to be coming if you're willing to grow and change and develop, right? So we were talking about these ideas of what does it look like when somebody goes from being a college athlete, maybe in football, and then goes to the NFL. What are the kind of changes? Like, they're playing the same game, right? But in some ways, it's very, very different.
Yeah, so the first one that is always talked about, especially in football, is speed. The speed of the game is much faster. Everybody's quicker, everybody's moving faster, and defenses approach quick, they close on you. And so the speed of our real estate industry, if you look back 12 months ago or 18 months ago when all this stuff started happening, it has rapidly changed quickly, faster than any other year period that I can remember in my career. And I don't see that slowing down. No,
and I was talking with some of the leaders in our organization today, and the number of pivots and changes that we've made this year are probably, just in the first 6 or 7 months of this year, we've probably done maybe 2 or 3 years worth of changes just to be able to evolve and adapt for the speed of change that is happening and will continue to happen in our industry. And it's interesting, right? Because the college world, those are like phenomenal athletes. But when somebody goes from amateur to professional, just the rate and the speed and the pace, it actually requires different habits, different disciplines, and really a different mindset.
Yeah, so if you think about a college quarterback, a really good college quarterback, one of the things that they say going from that to being a really good NFL quarterback is college quarterbacks throw to open receivers. Mm-hmm. Pro quarterbacks throw their receivers open.
Yeah.
And so as we get to move forward in the real estate business, we're going to have to, be professionals and look for the opportunities to create the business and not wait for the business to come to us.
Yeah, so the last maybe 5 or even 10 years of our industry, there has been a lot of, looking for open receivers. And there's a level of skill there. You don't get to the highest level of college athletics without being substantially skilled. But what we're looking at when we look at the changes that are now in place in most areas, and those changes are really being forced by this date of April 17th, what we're seeing is that, the market has constricted. at the same time of all of these changes happening. So we have a changing game at the same time as we have changing rules, and the competition's getting higher. There are a significant amount more real estate agents out there right now than there probably will be in a year from now. And for the people who are growing themselves, listening to this podcast and going to masterminds and all this other stuff, the speed of the game is something that you need to now allow to dictate the level at which you show up.
And so August 17th, things are changing, and we're going to be looking at one of the things we talked about that's going to be big is the margin for error is significantly smaller.
Yeah, so our industry in real estate, we've always straddled this really uncomfortable line, which is that we deal with contracts. We don't just deal with negotiations, but outside of maybe like commercial real estate, we as real estate professionals actually legally practice some level of law. Right, which lawyers, of course, don't like, and there's a margin for error that is tightening. So it's always should have been really tight, and for great real estate professionals, they have acted that way around the contracts. But now there's all this tightening about the way that you work with consumers as well. Again, in the direction I think of professionalism.
Yeah.
But the margin for error, what it's going to do is it's going to start to weed out people who are not ready, willing, able to do two things. Number one is to be able to demonstrate their value. We've talked about that in the past. It's very experiential, especially for somebody who's a first-time or second-time home buyer or seller. They don't have enough experience seeing what a great real estate agent can do for them. And so agents are going to have to help them experience their value so that they can close for compensation, so that they can actually earn the trust and earn the right to represent somebody. And all of that tightens up this margin for error. And again, I think it tightens up our industry in a way that moves us towards being professional. And, Jig, I think when we talk about the idea of being professional, it's great. Like, who doesn't want to actually be a professional in their field? It sounds really great. It's a great concept. But the issue is when you look at people that are professional in any field, like the NFL, there's a significant price to pay.
So I'm going to go back to one of the things that you said about practicing law. So in Washington, we're very clear on what we can do as far as practicing law. So we're told that we have a limited license to practice law, and that basically boils down to we can fill in blanks on pre-approved legal contracts.
Yeah.
So as we move forward, the stakes are considerably higher.
Yes. Yeah. So if we look at this, right, so these things that change, and again, we're going to use a couple different sports analogies today because they're just, everybody gets to observe sports and there's just really no hiding. That's kind of the reason a lot of times you gravitate towards that. But, we have the speed of the game that has increased, and I don't see it decreasing. Like, it's going to continue to go faster and faster. The margin for error is going to get tighter, and the stakes are getting higher. The stakes are getting higher because of the limited number of transactions for the way too many people, in my opinion, in real estate right now. And all of this is creating an atmosphere that's going to create pressure for even the best real estate agents.
So if we look at this as, I'm going to use another sports analogy, baseball players, college baseball players, at least Division I baseball players use aluminum bats,
right,
or composite bats. Major League Baseball players use wood bats, right? Mm-hmm. The stakes are higher in the sense that you can have your wooden bat broke, right? So if you make a bad swing in college, you might get away with it because the bat's going to carry you.
Yeah.
In Major League Baseball, you might get your bat broke off and it's going to dribble to the pitcher and you're going to be thrown out, right?
Yeah. So there have been things that don't fall into the world of professionals the professionalism that has really carried agents up to this point. Some of that is the speed of the previous market, not the speed of all the things that we are experiencing, but just the fact that there were so many people wanting to buy and sell homes, right? And that was kind of like playing with an aluminum bat, right? It just covered a lot of technical mistakes or technical errors. Yeah. Not the kind like in legal contracts and things like that, but in sales skills, in being able to demonstrate your value and being able to show up at that super high level professionalism. But that's no longer the environment we're in.
Well, and it's also in the what we refer to as the application of the process too, right? Like being able to demonstrate and actually apply your knowledge, apply your skills, apply your craft. And I see a lot of that being lacking now, especially with agents that, not to downplay them, but agents that got in less than 4 years ago when the market was the market did everything for you. Mm-hmm. If you didn't price a house correctly, the market caught up to it, and then you looked like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of houses on the market sitting for a long time, not getting showings for like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah,
I just had a conversation with somebody today about that their agent, they haven't got a showing in a month,
right,
and their agent's just telling them the market's slow. And to me, that's a
red flag.
That's a red flag. As somebody that's been in the business for a long time, if you don't get a showing in a month, you've got some serious issues.
You do. And those issues create hard conversations. Mm-hmm. Hard conversations are conversations that need practice, mm-hmm. and they need experience, and they need training around. And so you start seeing that. And it's interesting because you do end up seeing consumers that think the market is worse than it is, not because they don't have a well-intentioned agent or even an unattentive agent, but because they have somebody who hasn't seen those kind of things and hasn't had the opportunity or made the opportunity for themselves to really elevate their game.
So I'm going to bring in my third sports analogy.
Yes.
Here. So, most people probably don't. I played college golf. Mm-hmm. And about 20 years ago, I played in my last pro tournament as an amateur up until this weekend. Uh-huh. And I got the bug to try to do it again. And I came to the realization hey, I can hang for a day, maybe two, but I can't hang with the pros anymore or at their level without a considerable more amount of time. But the three things that came down to it for me after seeing what they play, how they played, and how I played is their endurance, their ability to persevere through a long series of things was definitely something I didn't have the ability to do. And it translates to our real estate business as well. This is a long-term career.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to endure some of these patches within the industry.
Yeah. It's really interesting when somebody looks at real estate as, this neat thing to do, or I think I like real estate, so let me try this. They inherently come into the industry not with the idea of I'm going to build a professional career, but it's something else, right? It's maybe a way to make really good money during really good times. And the staying power of a professional is really profound. If you look across any profession, they all take their lumps, right? Given the amount of time of a career, call it 30 years, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever, you are going to see so many changes in your environment that other people are just unaware that you're even going through, that those that stick it out and actually make carve a life and a career out of that, they have to have endurance. And sometimes many, many times over the course of that. And the challenge, I think, is that when people have this idea that they can jump in and out of different careers and avoid the endurance, they don't understand that they are undermining maybe one of the most important things about work and careers, and that is how much ability they have to carve your character and carve out who you are. So if I spend my entire life avoiding hard things, I spend my entire life deciding that when things get to this certain point, I'm the smart one and I'm going to go do something different. The issue is that what that does for you in your personal growth, to be able to just grind and sometimes suffer through this, if you don't do that, you're actually never prepared for the tremendous upside that comes with compounding. Mm-hmm. And it's a real tragedy when you see somebody jump from thing to thing to thing, because the reality is the farther down the road they get, it's a number of years, but that's all it is. Mm-hmm. It's not experience, it's not wisdom, it's not a compounding of interest or compounding of money or compounding of influence.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen it, just like I have those agents that, got out of the business in 2010, jumped back in 2017, 18, had a couple good years, then they were out, and then they jumped back in 2021, 2022. They lost out on, some of the skills that they should have built, but also the clients that they could have gotten if they did the hard work during those years would have been the same clients that sold in 2021 and bought something else. And you shortchanged yourself just tons of deals by not doing it.
Yeah. And that it has its exceptions, but for the most part, hard markets are actually hard because they're hard on consumers. And when things get really, really hard for a consumer, that's when a consumer actually needs a great professional agent the most. And so if we look at this and we say, hey, what we do as real estate professionals, it matters, right? Like if we look at some really basic things and we said, like one of the ways of breaking down human needs is like food, shelter, and love, right? We actually do one of those, right? Like one of these really, really core basic human needs, we are the facilitator of that for families, and not just for individuals, not just for families, but sometimes entire family lines, right? And so when my job is to serve one of these core needs for families, and whenever it actually gets hard for those families, I'm not the go-to person to serve them. I think that's a challenge. I think that's something that, if you look in the mirror and say, okay, am I that guy? Not many people say, yeah, I want to be that guy. So then it's like, okay, do your actions show up the way that you want to be seen, but not just seen the person you want to become?
Yeah, I'm going to actually add on to that I think we do the second one too, or we do a second one of those, which is love. Like sometimes having a hard conversation with somebody is the love that they need.
Oh yeah.
Like telling them that, we got to drop your price by 10% because if we don't, you're never going to sell your house. Also, you're never going to get to move, across country to go be with your grandkids.
Yeah. Like
I'm going to tell you because I love you as another person that we have to do this, or else you're never going to get to the goal that you were looking for.
I love that. It's such a good observation, because many times my experience has been in real estate that people are prone emotionally to make decisions or make non-decisions that ultimately ripple through their life in a negative way. They don't pursue a goal. They don't pursue closeness with their family or something like that just because of this moment in time. And in that moment in time, it's their choice to make. But if they're sitting together with a professional, so this would be the same as somebody sits down with a doctor and they're consulting whether they need surgery or not. It's their decision. But if that doctor is showing up with their A game, they are going to give them the very best, not only information, but context and story and narrative to help them shape their next decision in a really, really powerful way. That's what we do. And it is loving.
Yep. All right. So the second thing I learned from my tournament this weekend, that the pros did better than me as an amateur, was consistency. When they consistently did the right thing more often than I did.
It's amazing, right? So like how does somebody do that? How does somebody consistently show up?
Yeah, so I think some of it starts with the right mindset that we go back to that endurance, that this is a career and we're going to consistently show up and do the little things. We're going to consistently practice. We're going to consistently work on our scripts. We're going to consistently make the phone calls and do the lead generation activities that we need to, such that we can have the business that we want.
Yeah. So if we look at this big chasm between an amateur and professional, it shows up in consistency, right? So we even look at that and we say, okay, where does endurance come from? Well, endurance, it does come from mindset, but then it also comes through this consistency of action. So if somebody's listening to this or watching this right now, and we just say, you're raising your hand saying, I want to be a professional, and after August 17th, right, I want to be an elite real estate agent. It's like, cool. Like that's what everybody wants, but everybody wants a 6-pack of abs. Everybody wants X million dollars in the bank. What distinguishes the person that has those things from those who don't is not luck, it's consistency of action.
And the third thing that pros do that amateurs don't is they play to their strengths. So one of the things that I noticed pretty often was that they played to specific areas of the game that they were really good at. So if that meant that they had a really good short game, but they weren't great iron players, they hit driver a lot more and got closer to the green so that they could take advantage of it. Or if they were a really good iron player, they may have only hit 1 or 2 drivers all day. And so they played to their strengths such that they could take advantage of the golf course. And so what that looks like for an agent is knowing what you're good at, knowing what you like to do, especially in the lead generation activities, knowing how you like to communicate with other people to get business, and planning your game plan around that.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think just kind of going along with golf, I haven't golfed consistently or anywhere close to it for probably 10 years now. But I remember showing up at a golf course, and the person I was playing against didn't even bring didn't bring any woods, any drive, nothing. They just played irons, and I could hit the crap out of the ball. This is actually the only thing I could do. And like our scores were so far apart at the end of 18 holes that I wasn't even in the same stratosphere. And he showed up and he just played his game. And it was really interesting to me because if I would have shown up as an extreme amateur and seen, my game plan was to show up with my irons and seen somebody else show up, with their driver, I would have changed my game plan. Just because there's that pressure. And so I think that that's a really interesting thing is if we're talking now, not to people who are new into the industry, but we're talking to people who are maybe retooling from having, long, successful careers. Over the last several years, you may have come off of your game, or you might have forgotten some of the core things that made you great. And now you're not doing that. You're playing a game of find the latest fad or the latest, like quick fix or hack. And I don't know that professionals, I don't think that professionals go for hacks as much as they go for consistency of action over time.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so when we talked about this, we're treating this like every real estate professional right now is having to, like your job right now is to retool. If you haven't retooled yet this year, you have to, you got a game plan. It's a new league. Right? Congratulations, you're now a professional. We'll see if you make it. Yeah. What are you doing to retool your real estate career to be top of the class for the next 10 years?
Yep. So first and foremost is I'm going to treat any and every listing as gold. And what I mean by that is I am going to be the doctor giving the greatest consultation that possibly can, such that we list houses properly the first time, every time. And once on the market, those listings will be treated like the gold that they are. They will have open houses. They will door knock the neighborhoods, whether that's me or somebody on our team. We'll be doing that, and we're going to treat those as more opportunities for more listings or for more business. And so that's the first thing that I'm going to do. The second thing that I'm going to do is I love being in front of people more than I love making phone calls all the time. So I'm going to take every opportunity that I can to be in person for lead generation, whether that's open houses, door knocking, as well as first-time homebuyer classes or seller classes. I'm going to take advantage of those things that I like to do to be able to be core pillars of my lead generation activity.
I love it. And the thing is you're educating these choices off of 17 years of experience. Yep. So this isn't like, I think I'm going to try this new thing. It's, that when people get face-to-face with you, my experience face-to-face with you is this person is trustworthy. That they're going to have their best interest in mind. That they know what they're doing. And you have this ability to not blow fluff. Like you're very straightforward with people. And if I get to experience that, I have actually just had an opportunity to, in a relationship setting, demonstrate value, which means that closing for compensation is a very natural step. Much harder when you're not face-to-face with people. It's certainly not impossible, but I love that.
Yep. And the last thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to consistently seek to become more and more professional in all of the activities that I'm doing. So if that means I need to be involved in more trainings, actually teach more trainings, which I do quite a bit, but teaching something becomes a better way for me to learn than to actually learn from somebody else teaching me. So I am going to seek to be a professional and set myself apart from those that aren't.
I love that. And you're right. That's the way this path goes, right? Is that you're not just a practitioner, but at some point you start teaching things, and there's a very selfish reason for sometimes even doing like a podcast like this, and that is that if I have to go and I have to really think through what I'm going to deliver, and I have to articulate it in a way that delivers value to people, that starts to seep deeper and deeper into me, and it actually becomes not just a skill set, becomes a part of like who I am. And when that happens, I can more naturally show up consistently over time as a professional, because I'm not having to turn something on or turn it off. I'm just showing up, and this is actually who I am now.
I think that probably covered it for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's the gig, right? So I know we didn't take, hit this on the nose with NAR today, because there are still lots of changes coming and there's lots of unknowns. But we've decided on this podcast to really focus on the things that we can control. And one of the things that I'm just absolutely as sure of anything as I've been sure of in our industry is that professionalism is going to win the day. Out of all the things that you can't control, what you can control is being the agent of choice, because you are showing up as a professional and you're working hard. You're ready for the speed of the game. You are okay with the tight margin for errors, and the stakes are high, and you're embracing that, and you're growing into it.
Thanks for tuning in. This was a great episode for us. Please check out our next episode, which is Escape from Fantasyland, Squaring with Reality.
Yes, it's going to be a good one, guys. As always, we're here to impact, empower, and encourage you in your real estate career. Keep moving toward professionalism, guys. If you need anything, hit us up at rmgagentpodcast.com. Take care.